All right, we're going to try something a little bit different today. I'm going to talk about knowledge and whether or not it's valuable and in what conditions it might be valuable. This is completely unscripted, which I've never done before on this channel. So let's give it a shot. All right. So I had a discussion recently on one of my live streams about this and sort of touched on it and said, that'd make a good video. And I was doing a video for my other lesser well-known channel where I just rant mostly about software and the meaning crisis, which is way more fun. And I said, well, let me try that format here where it's unscripted and it's more in the rant style. So I think one of the problems that we have is there's a lot of people out there believing that what they've learned has some value, right? And so it's sort of like learning is valuable for its own sake, which is something you hear in various forms all over the place. It's a lie. It's a complete lie. It's a complete and utter lie, right? The bottom line is you shouldn't try to know everything yourself, even within the field of your expertise. I don't know everything within computers. I know a hell of a lot, but like, why would I want to learn about hardware design? I'm never going to design a chip. All right. And I know something about hardware design because I worked for the #1 hardware design software company in the world for a while. So I know a little bit about it, enough to be dangerous, not enough to do anything useful. So I know a little about fabs and things like that. I have friends in the fab industry, whatever. But that's, let the experts do that, right? Outsource your knowledge to people because it's cheaper and easier. And the example I used was, I got my buddy Danny. Danny knows way more about web design than I do, web application level designing and UI frameworks in particular. The UI frameworks are the bane of software existence right now. None of them are any good. JavaScript is like the worst language that's ever been created. And so there's a lot of mess there. And I know something about this. I've been on a lot of teams. They use a lot of Angular and React and things like that. And, we went through the Ruby on Rails thing, and Bootstrap and all that craziness. And I built websites with some of the older technologies. And I've worked on stuff that people built with Angular, and it's not worth my time to go through and figure out which UI project is best for what I'm doing. It's just not. I can do it, but I only use it once, maybe twice. That's a lot of work. I could spend that work coding the part of the project that I know. And the thing is, if you know how to do it, let's suppose you learn UI and you're like, well, it's valuable for its own sake, and you never use it and no one ever asks you about it. What good was that? Because that time, energy, and attention that you put into learning the thing, maybe you could have done something else with that, like helped a neighbor, made a friend, right? I don't know. Lots of things are better than learning things. Lots of things. So it's not clear to me. Now you could say, oh, Mark, the availability, the optionality is there, right? We'll use some Taleb language. The optionality is there. And I'm like, some optionality is good, but how much? Maybe you're doing a little too much. I don't know. That could be a problem, right? You want your experts to be experts, and you want to be able to rely on them. And if you're not relying on them, if you're doing everything yourself, why have experts? Right. Unfortunately, you'll spread yourself too thin. You'll never get anything done. Are you not getting anything done? Do you have a case of trying to be your own expert? Navigating patterns can help. 1995. This is a problem. It's not a solution. Yeah, maybe I can, understand Plato's Republic by myself. It's a waste of time, dude. On the other hand, look, a lot of people are lying to you about what's in Plato's Republic, and they're teachers. So, it's not a perfect system. Also, you're not going to make it perfect. right? And it's not going to be more perfect because you did it and didn't rely on other people. That's also not happening, right? So, I mean, it's trade-offs all around for sure. And I don't think people understand that. I don't think people get it. Like you knowing something and it never getting used is no good. And you knowing something and only using it for yourself, that's not great, man. And we need fewer experts in more areas, not more experts overall, right? Like we don't need more experts in foreign policy. We really don't. We don't need more Ukraine experts or latest election in country I don't live in experts, or experts on the election and why it went bad, or experts on conspiracies. We don't need any experts on conspiracies. It'll be fine. We'll do fine without those people. But you could have an expertise in something, right? And you could be the expert in something, right? And people could know you for that, because it's the last part that's important, right? You don't have to hide your head in the sand, right? And if you do, that's on you. You should be out there telling people what you know, letting them engage or not as they will, right? That's the problem. And you should be relying on other experts for the things that, you could learn them, but maybe you'll never learn them as well as the expert did, or the person that you pick. And maybe you don't need to have a perfect answer, but a good enough answer that doesn't cost you a lot of time. And that's why going to other people is helpful, right? Like, I'm not going to figure out which UI framework is best for my project. I'm never going to do that work ever. I'm going to ask someone somewhere and let them tell me, and I'm going to believe them, and then I'm going to hire somebody else to do the work, because I ain't doing that work. That's for sure. Now, look, I've written code and submitted it, and it's been used for UI builders. Right? Like I don't know nothing about UIs. I know nothing about modern web UI frameworks, because I don't know why you need a framework. In the old days, you just had a library. And if you do it correctly, you have a skinnable library, and it's not that hard. I worked on one in C back in the day. Really not difficult. I don't know why you need more than that ever, but like I'm open to seeing something that, say, Angular React does that wasn't done on an 8-bit computer, in the 80s, but I haven't seen it yet, and I don't think I'm going to see it, because there's a limited number of things you can do with a UI, guys. It's just a mouse and some buttons, some keyboard shortcuts, fancy graphics, a pointer. I don't know. Like, there's not that many free variables. Look, don't go out and become an expert at everything. Rely on experts. Maybe become an expert at nothing. The best and smartest business people I know, they're not experts at anything. Right? They hire everything out. And they make a lot of money. And they're relatively happy because they don't spend 40 hours a week working. That's for sure. Right? And then they're free to focus on their free time and making the world a better place, which is, ultimately what I think you should be doing, right? You shouldn't be focusing on these other things. There's no advantage to the world, and there's really no advantage to you long term. I mean, it might seem like there's one short term, but spreading yourself out, learning a bunch of things, trying to become expert at too many things, not a great plan. Just, it's not going to serve you well later. And especially not in technology and things. And by technology, like almost everything's been infected by technology now. So it's hard to find something that isn't, right? It's not just like software, which is changing at a rate that is unsustainable, right? Just the number of cloud tools compared to 5 years ago is absurd. Zero new functionality, right? But like lots more tools. It's a little suspicious. But ultimately, just engaging with this expertise thing, you're going to get left behind because things move fast. And maybe if everybody's playing that game, it's not a good game to play, right? Like, maybe you should take responsibility for something people aren't doing, right? And do that well, as Jordan Peterson alludes to. And that would probably be better than trying to be an expert at fixing cars and being an expert at, business and being an expert at programming and being an expert at these stupid video games that everybody seems to love. I love me a good occasional video game, but like we have way too many video games now. That's for sure. Right. It's all time, energy, and attention, and how you use it actually matters. All right. So you want to put your time, energy, and attention to things that are going to connect you to the world. And being an expert does not connect you to the world. Being an expert in 10 things does not connect you to the world. Right. I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying that doesn't connect you to the world. And what you want ultimately is to be connected to the world. Right. Because that is the thing that helps you to generate meaning. And meaning is really the thing it's all about. When you can't find your place because you're dug down into one little thing that you'll never use and no one will use you for, you're really not doing a great thing. Right? You could spend that time, energy, and attention being less expert and more cooperative. And that's why, the cooperation aspect is important to me, because that's what makes the world a better place. When you personally, you physically, the person I'm talking to, however many persons that is, take the time to cooperate. Like actually cooperate and not agree, or any of that stuff, but actually, find a way to work with other people rather than having arguments, disagreements, discussions, unnecessary. You can work side by side in silence and get a lot of work done. Really, you have to talk about any of it. It's fantastic. We're not saying don't talk, but also you don't need to. So, you want to argue while you work together on something you're cooperating on. That's a better way to have a discussion or an argument or disagreement. Because at the end of the day, you'll still have the work you did in common with one another. And that's why I appreciate that you watch my videos and give them your time and attention.